Can you really heal your ED permanently? I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, and in this video, I want to share with you definitely, yes, you can. If there's an if, there's an if and a but to that absolute that I'm sharing with you. And in this video, I want you to know what that if is, and I want to share with you 3 reasons why I know you can heal your ED. If. Okay, so let's start with number one. Number one is that erectile dysfunction is actually, for most people, arousal dysfunction in your brain. It's a brain issue, a top-down issue. It is a brain neurological dysfunction that then creates dysfunctions of the mind, psychologically or emotionally, and the body, physiologically. So your brain is the supercomputer that runs your mind and your body. Many people lose sight of that. So if there is brain dysfunction at play, and that's the if, then you can absolutely heal your erectile dysfunction. In this video, I'm going to share with you a qualitative way that you can put some pieces together to figure out if there's likely brain dysfunction at play for you. But I'm also going to share with you a highly measurable way that you can see if you have arousal dysfunction in the brain. I'm going to share that with you at the end of this video, so stay with me. Those are going to be your brain hack strategies for the day. Okay, so back to the idea of brain dysfunction. When your brain is running in the healthy, optimal electrical energy pattern that makes so that neurotransmitters and hormones and electrical signals throughout your entire body cascade in a healthy way, that is what I call the green zone brain pattern. What the green zone brain pattern means is that your brain is using electrical energy optimally for healthy arousal. What that looks and feels like is that throughout the day, every day, your brain is in a calm and focused electrical energy pattern. So what that means is most of the time, you're calm and focused. You're able to get up and do what you need to do throughout the day. You do not have pervasive feelings of stress or busyness. You do not have pervasive feelings of fatigue or overwhelm. Your brain is running at the perfect speed for it to be able to get into any arousal state that it wants to or needs to throughout the day. Healthy arousal. So if you're calm and focused at baseline, and now it's time to have a lovely, intimate sexual experience with your partner, what happens is your baseline brain performance is able to spike up. We call it phasic. Tonic is that baseline. Phasic is a spike in arousal. So if your baseline's at a healthy level, and now you have this spike because you are having a sexual experience with a partner, then your brain is in the healthy mode. Healthy baseline arousal equals healthy sexual arousal when it's time to be intimate with your partner. Green zone brain pattern, healthy arousal, brain function, optimal brain function. Okay, now let's contrast that and compare it to hyperarousal and hypoarousal. Those are out in the extremes. So if your brain is performing in hyperarousal, it will give you feelings of stress and anxiety. You may feel overly busy. You may feel vigilant. You might have some obsessive thoughts. You might have difficulty being able to relax and chill. That's a hyperarousal brain, one that is on too much. Simultaneously, or kind of going back and forth, what I call the pendulum effect, you may have hypoarousal in your brain. You feel exhausted, you feel fatigued, you feel overwhelmed, you're get up and go, got up and went. You're not able to be motivated, you're not able to focus and concentrate and be on task. That's hypoarousal. So hyper and hypoarousal are in the extremes, far away from healthy arousal. So now, if you're in hyper or hypoarousal and it's time to have a sexual experience with a partner, you're very far off from that baseline that helps you to be able to get to those feelings of pleasure and to be able to have an erection and to be able to have an orgasm with a partner during a sexual experience. It is because your baseline arousal has been changed because there is brain dysfunction at an electrical level, which is also impacting the neurotransmitters and the signals down to your sex organs for an erection and orgasm. Hopefully you're following me, top down. So we also know that if you are engaged in hypersexual behaviors like pornography consumption, like using sexual media, that's social media for sexual purposes, using any online content for hypersexuality, for feeling good from consuming sexual content, that might even be lusting in the world, that might even be a chronic masturbation habit. Those are hypersexual behaviors. Hypersexual behaviors keep your brain stuck in hyper and hypoarousal because of something that I call the 4D dopamine cycle of hypersexuality. And the way that it works is, and I'll use masturbation as an example. The way that it works is you decide you're going to masturbate and you feel good already, even though you haven't began to. That is a dopamine drip in your brain. Once the dopamine starts dripping, we know from science, you will most likely follow it through until you're experiencing a dopamine deluge. That's a flood of dopamine into your system at supernormal levels, too high. Now, this big flood of dopamine changes that baseline arousal in your brain from healthy arousal to hyperarousal. So now that dopamine's really flowing and you end up in a dopamine drowning state. Once your brain is drowned out in dopamine, now you've artificially swung into hypoarousal. When you're in hypoarousal, now you feel calm and relaxed, but again, your healthy baseline levels have been artificially shifted to those low arousal levels, hypo. Now, the fourth D in this cycle, I think, is the most tragic for people because what happens is then you go back into your life away from the hypersexual behavior, whatever that might be. In this case, I'm using the example of masturbation, but it could be porn, it could be social media, it could be acting out with people and hookup culture. But now you go back to your life and you're in a dopamine deficit state. Dopamine deficit sends you into hyper and hypoarousal simultaneously. So your life no longer feels good to you. You no longer can focus. Your motivation is low. You feel stressed out. You feel angry. You feel irritable. And the push back into hypersexuality is there big time. So that 4D cycle keeps your brain stuck, not in healthy arousal, in hyper and hypoarousal, what I call strained brain. And if you keep going back over and over and over, your brain will get stuck into that artificially numbed out dopamine drowning, which I call drained brain. So if you're in strained brain because you're caught up in a hypersexual cycle, or if you've tipped into drained brain because you've been in that cycle for so long, so frequently, so consistently, and especially at high levels, you, my friend, are experiencing sexual arousal dysfunction in your brain. It's brain dysfunction. So that's the big if. And if you are struggling with brain dysfunction, you can 100% heal. So at this point, I'd like to provide a disclaimer for you that if you don't think it's brain dysfunction, if you're not doing any of these hypersexual behaviors, and I want to tell you though, even if you've stopped doing them and you haven't been doing those behaviors for a year, your brain can still be stuck in that mode. And we know that fantasy tends to linger around. And especially if you're still masturbating, fantasy and lusting tend to stick with you and keep reinforcing strained brain and drained brain. But if you've never been engaged in any of those behaviors, then you definitely want to go to your doctor and have your physiology checked out, because there can be peripheral nervous system disorders that might be at play, and there are other central nervous system disorders that might be at play as well. So of course, go to your doctor, your primary care physician, have your body checked out. But if your body's working properly, it's brain dysfunction, and there is a way to measure that. I'm going to tell you it in just a minute. But if it is brain dysfunction, your brain can heal. That's reason number one that I know for sure you can heal from erectile dysfunction permanently forever. Now, I want to give you an analogy before we move to number two. The analogy is, it's like you have a flat tire on your car and you keep getting a flat tire. And you're like, man, my tire is flat all the time. So you have to figure out what is deflating your tire. In this case, with erectile dysfunction, it's desensitization in your brain from high levels of dopamine from hypersexual behaviors. That's like the proverbial nail that keeps flattening your tire. So if you want to heal your brain, and in this case, if you want to fix your flat tire, you have to go to an auto mechanic who can assess that tire and go, oh yeah, your tire's flat. And the reason it keeps getting flat is because you keep running over these tiny little nails that you don't know about, or you keep running over big nails you don't know about. And these nails keep going into your tire. Every day you pull out of your driveway and you run over these nails. So every day you're like, how can my tire possibly be flat? Or you ran over a whole bunch of nails a year ago and you never got those nails out of your tire. So the solution clearly is in the problem. And what that means is you have to fix the tire and stop running over the nails. So fixing the tire is healing the dysfunction in your brain. Sometimes you can do it yourself if you come out of the hypersexual behavior and you do activities, behaviors of your mind and your body that bring your brain back towards that healthy arousal pattern. Sometimes that works. Most times you got to go to the auto mechanic. So let's talk about what that involves. So number two is you have to discover why erectile dysfunction is happening. And I just told you, it's desensitization in your brain from high levels of dopamine from supernormal stimuli that has to do with hypersexuality. If that fits the bill for you, now you know. But I also know that it can be really difficult to come out of those behaviors. So if you're stuck in porn, if you're stuck in hypersexuality, please go over to my website, drtrishleigh.com. There is a 90-day digital program to help you discover everything you need to know about this hypersexual cycle and to get yourself out of it. It is imperative to be able to heal the arousal dysfunction in your brain. You have to figure out what your nails are and stop running over them. That's the way we're going to heal. Another service that I provide, which you'll also find at drtrishleigh.com, is called a QEEG brain map. In that brain map, I can show you precisely how your brain is functioning. Are you using the healthy brain pattern? Are you using the strained brain pattern of hyper and hypoarousal? Are you using the drained brain pattern of shifted into artificial hypoarousal permanently? I can show you that with your own eyes from the comfort of your home. I work with people all over the world and you never have to leave. So that's the benefit of a QEEG brain map. Is the Q stands for quantitative. It's totally measurable. What we're talking about here is qualitative. You're going to try to figure out what your nails are, and you're going to try to figure out how your brain is performing based on the information that I'm giving you. Quantitative, schedule yourself for a QEEG brain map. I can show you it definitively. When you see it definitively, then you know for sure how far away your brain is from the optimal level. Sometimes people's brains are 3 levels away. Sometimes people's brains are 9 levels away. Sometimes people's brains are 12 levels away. You'll know how many levels away from optimal, and then I'll be able to share with you, because I'll be able to look at your history and information. I'll be able to see what the nails are, and I'll be able to tell you. A lot of times you can't find that yourself. So schedule the QEEG brain map. It will show you that arousal dysfunction in your brain, and you'll know exactly what to do to heal it. So number 2 is you have to discover why this is happening. Number 3 is once you know why it's happening, you need to know what to do to set the foundation for the future so that you never run over nails again and you never get a flat tire again. That's what the new ED program that I've designed is designed to help you do. It's 3 steps to heal erectile dysfunction at home, and yes, it works. You have to figure out what your nails are. You have to figure out how to pump that tire back up and to keep it fixed forever. That program will give you the tools, and of course, I can give you those tools in the QEG brain map. So you can try to figure it out using the content that I have here. On this channel, there's almost 1,000 videos. I'm here to help you. But if you want to come to the auto mechanic, that's available too. So dig into the content on this channel, start figuring out what your nails are and what your brain needs to heal to pump that tire up. And if you're inspired, please sign up for the 90-day program if you know you're caught up in the porn cycle or a hypersexual cycle of any kind. And that's an awesome investment. In that program, you get to meet with me in a group 1 time a month. We can keep pumping up your tire and figuring out what your nails are. If you want to talk to me privately, QEEG brain map, all the way to the left, work with Dr. Trish Leigh is the way to go. If neither of those are in the cards for you yet, stay here with me. I'm going to keep making content to help you heal your erectile dysfunction, but I want you to know 100% it can heal. 100%. Not 99, 100. I got you, my friend. Stay with me. We can do this. Okay, control your brain or it will control you. I'll see you next time.